We forgot the taste of steaks. The appearance of convincing special effects. The sound of subtle sound design. We even forgot our own tone.
If this is love, I do not want it. Why does it hurt so much?
To whom it may concern, this is a video I have postponed for a while because it turns out I'm basically just restating a theory that somebody proposed on Reddit. But if Huffington Post and Cracked can do that for content, then fuck you. You may have noticed that a lot of people didn't like New Line Cinema's Hobbit movies very much. At least dummies like me who like when movies have an authentic sense of danger, worthwhile subplots, a style and VFX less reminiscent of generic online fantasy RPGs, or some modicum of understanding of its source material, but then I'm too stupid to realize you're not supposed to want that out of a fantasy movie and should just squirt my seeds of life all over my unironic Legolas posters because the movie has characters I recognize.
Should we maintain the light-heartedness of the book, or should we try to make it more Lord of the Rings? Yes.
I guess my point is these movies have been torn a sufficient quantity of new ones over the years by critics like Just Right and most recently Lindsay Ellis. But the thing is, guys, I've changed my mind. Yeah, so persuaded am I by the arguments of the hardcore fans, the ones who understand Tolkien far more than I, and thus realize that this short, silly book about the adventures of Bilbo Baggins needed to be an 8+ hour trilogy on par with Lord of the Rings, that I am going to defend these movies. These wonderful, far more layered than a surface look will convey movies. And yes, I am serious. Here's what you need to understand when doing a reading of the Hobbit movies. A vast majority of what we see is presented in the form of flashback. The oft-present smudgy, dreamlike filter gives this away. The person telling us this story isn't Tolkien. Nor is it really Peter Jackson, botching a work he once represented flawlessly. The person telling us the story is Bilbo Baggins. And if you recall, we first see him in present day, which would be set during the first 5 minutes of the Fellowship of the Ring, where he can be seen writing the same memoir he is penning at the beginning of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. This tells us something very important. Bilbo's old and senile. 111! He's forgotten what made his adventure charming. He's forgotten that nobody like Tauriel was remotely relevant to his journey. Either that or he's trying to insert more progressive values by adding a female character to the mix and utilizing her mainly for a Twilight-esque love triangle, because at the end of the day he's too geriatric and out of touch to successfully pander to PC culture. Of course the action scenes aren't about creating a genuine sense of danger. Of course they instead aspire to be on a level of fast and intense bordering on the cartoonish. Of course several plot lines go nowhere. Of course he relies too much on references to events and characters he hasn't met or heard about yet, okay. Of course the characters are indestructible because that's what makes action scenes exciting, until you know they have to be killed off and it's the ones you care about, like the cute dwarf's brother. This poor old guy just doesn't know any better. What did he write before this book anyways? Did the magic ring of Sauron, which he's had with him for some time at this point, something to do with it? Actually, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. It is clear that the ring had some effect on Baggins when he wrote certain parts of the book. In Baggins' retold version, Sauron plays a much larger part, even though years later Gandalf is astounded by the ring's reappearance and has to do months worth of research in Minas Tirith before being certain that Sauron's return is imminent. Now, this sounds like nobody thought this all the way through. But if you read between the lines just a little, the real truth is clear as day. Sauron made Bilbo write him into the story because he really wanted a big role. It's big and awesome, it's cool powers and voiced by Sherlock. Yeah, awesome. So was my reading valid? Does the work indeed function the way I have described it here? Tell us what you think, movie nerds! Bilbo!
Baggins, he's only